We've seen a lot of criticism of the government's response from many anti-establishment circles, but this caught my eye. CNBC's Jim Cramer, often, very establishmentarian man, a man of high finance and all of that, came out against the government response, criticizing it, how it was hurting small businesses and helping big corporations. Let's take a listen.
Walmart's essential. Walmart's the biggest grocer in the country. So they deserve all the greatness they had. And listen to what you guys said about all the hiring they've done. They're a good citizen. But at the same time, the government was, I thought, a bad actor in the sense that they let some big guys become even bigger. It was totally Darwinian, aided by the government.
I mean, there's so many layers.
Wow.
There's actually a lot of layers to that because even within his, the response is so bad that even someone like Jim Cramer, who would describe Walmart as they're a good citizen. Yeah, they're great. They deserve all their greatness, Saagar. That even someone who sees the economy like that is like, what are you people doing? You're just handing money over to people who don't need it and leaving everyone else with crumbs.
He said it perfectly in a longer clip where he's like, look, if you're Walmart or Amazon, the greatest thing in the world is to be declared essential and get all this preferential treatment while all your competitors, small businesses who are on low margins, have to be out of business. Now, obviously, I think Jim is saying there that we should just open up the entire economy. I've covered, consistently why that's not necessarily going to work in terms of demand and all of that. But you can see with Jim's response is even Jim gets it. Jim can see the structural trend of what is happening in America. Walmart stock is up. Amazon stock through the roof. Amazon is set to become the biggest winner of this entire thing. We covered here about they're thinking about buying a movie chain like AMC, movie theater chain, just because they have the capital, they have the cash, and it's all these distressed assets.
AMC is struggling, so there we go.
Obviously, movie theater business is dramatically struggling. So you can see that even the most even the people who are some of the most establishment, high finance thinkers see clearly what the government did in this response. Now, they may not agree on how it should have gone about, but if we can all agree that the biggest in the economy and some of the worst actors or the best actors, according to Jim, are going to be the ones that are going to get bigger.
Yeah.
We're going to have more distressed assets that are going to be up for grabs by Wall Street, by Amazon, by Walmart, and others that can just go out of business. We're going to live in a worse country. Even Jim Cramer understands that.
Right.
So when he understands that, that shows you how widespread the opinion of how terrible the economic response of this has been.
When your economic response is so corporate friendly that even Jim Cramer sounds like a populist, that is really,
That's Galaxy
all
Brain.
voted for it in this town. Every one of them. It was unanimous. They all voted for it. I mean, that is what is just so outrageous. And it's not just Cramer. And look, Mark Cuban is a little heterodox in his political views, but he's a billionaire, describes himself as a libertarian.
Right.
And he's like, we need a federal jobs guarantee. I mean, that's where we are. Is it so manifestly obvious to anyone who has a brain and isn't just complete ideological blinders that you need to do something huge and dramatic that is not shooting trillions of dollars at the biggest players who ultimately most of whom are going to be fine even without that, while you leave everyone else struggling and dying. It's not a hard thing to figure out. It didn't take a rocket scientist. We saw from the very beginning, right? We predicted exactly how this would go down, how it would be insufficient funds for the small businesses, how workers wouldn't be able to pay their rent, how people would be now facing foreclosure. It was all so obvious from the beginning. And yet here we are with Jim Cramer looking like a populist in comparison to what's happening in this town.
The script was written from the first day, whenever we saw what was emerging from that. We knew what was going to happen, and now it's all happening. And again, look, the one thing these guys do know are markets and finance, right? So Cuban and Cramer can see clearly the business trend. They're like, well, you've got these low-margin competitors that are smaller, that are getting closed and are not being able to compete with a much higher margin, massive conglomerate with a ton of cash on its books and a virtual monopoly on sales. It's pretty clear how that's going to go.
Yeah.
And we know what the societal implication of that is going to be. So, look, Jim Cramer, he said it first, I guess, on CNBC. We'll see if we see some more of that from that network.
All right, more rising for you after this.